This week in the news, we've been hearing all about Ledger and a new product. So Ledger has pledged to more open source code and to delay the launch of their new product, Ledger Recovery, after criticism from the crypto community. Off the heels of a Twitter AMA yesterday, Pascal Gauthier, Ledger CEO and chairman, joins us now. Welcome, Pascal.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. So a lot going on for you and your company in the last week. We have the announcement of this new product. We have a ton of criticism online from the crypto community. And now we have your response. You've delayed the launch of the product. You've committed to a few different things that we'll get into in the segment. But tell me, what's been most surprising to you amongst all of this?
Look, I don't know if we can say that it was surprising. I think Ledger has a history of launching new features. It started with the NanoX and Bluetooth. Well, actually, before that, it started with the launch of Ethereum. It was suddenly, we're not a Bitcoin-only wallet, and we were Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other coins. And then after that, it was the launch of the Bluetooth feature. And every time that we try to innovate, there is always a strong reaction from the community, which is very well understood and is very good because this is how we make progress. So we always take the feedback, we incorporate them in our roadmap, which is what we've done with Ledger Recover. But we have a history of this, and so it's just the way that crypto evolves. Our customers are very loyal and very vocal on Twitter and Reddit, and it has always been like this. I've been in his business since 2014, and I've seen this happen again and over again.
So were you expecting this reaction then? A lot of people are saying maybe there was a communications gap here. You say you're not surprised. Were you expecting this?
No, I mean, so two things happened. We discussed Ledger Recover and Seed Recovery at length before launching the product. Ian Rogers, myself, if you look at past interviews, we've discussed the product very openly, and we were actually quite surprised that nobody was picking up on it or commenting. And also on the other side, we had a lot of customers that were actually asking for it and waiting for it. So that was the thing. Wired actually a few weeks ago wrote an article about Recover, even giving the price of the service. So the news was already out there. It's just that no one had picked up on it. What happened though is by mistake, we released a new operating system, and in the note of the operating system that we released, because we always work in transparency, there was a description of the new service. And so that's what sort of triggered the emotion, the reaction, and the surprise of our community, and sort of rightfully so. This is typically a product where, our intention was to promote it in the right way before sort of launching it, and there was a communication mistake that was done. But again, we were surprised because it's not if as we had kept this product as a secret, and so just nobody picked up on it, and not surprised because, again, this is usually how the community reacts. And I think, if you look at the results, I think, with the community, we did a great job and we adjusted a few things. And I think going forward, and after the MAA yesterday, the reactions were actually very positive. And some people that, hated the idea and the product to start sort of understood what we're trying to achieve and changed their opinion. So I think going forward, this is a much needed product for the community.
So what did the crypto community get wrong, if that's the case? Because you said that this has happened a few times where you've launched a new feature, a new product, and you get some sort of backlash. You say that there's a communication problem on your end. What do you think is the problem on the general consumer, the general market's end?
It's not so much what they get wrong. I think we underestimate how complex this space is and how fragile trust is. And so a lot of people that use our products, think that the product works one way, but actually, the product has sort of always worked in a different way. And so there were many misconceptions about like what a hardware wallet is, how it's supposed to work, how does it protect secrets, how does it, the private key that is inside the wallet, how is it being used and encrypted, etc. So it's not that people get it wrong, it's just that it's very, very, very complicated. If you listen to the AMA that is available on Twitter, you have like, in-depth explanation by Charles, our CTO, or by Nicolas, our founder and chief innovation officer, on how a hardware wallet works. But these are very, very complex, security schemes, and so it's very normal that people are, sort of puzzled what's happening. And so there is a huge need for education in the space, always, and on security matters that are extremely complex, because what crypto is doing is, crypto is the sort of trailblazer of security going forward. This has never happened. Like the product that is a hardware wallet is something that was never built in the past. This is the first time that you have a security product that is a consumer product. Think about a security company that is a consumer company. There aren't many in the past. And so we're doing something very new, and it's very normal that people have questions, and we try to answer the questions.
So with that said, I mean, have you done any sort of shakeup internally when it comes to communication? Are you investing more in communications and hiring people and in how you say what your product does? I mean, have you had a stern talk with your marketing team? What exactly have you done internally to prevent this sort of thing from happening again?
Well, so first of all, I think, and you might agree that in terms of communication, Ledger in the past 2 years has been pretty good in the sense that both in terms of the Ledger brand and also Ledger content around education have been like two big forces in the crypto industry. So I think in terms of communication, we have a very good and strong communication team. Here, the mistake was to release a technical note regarding the operating system before we had actually released clear communication about the product. So it was just it's not a comms mistake. It's a technical mistake in terms of publishing something first that should have never been published before we had actually released the right communication content. When we'll go to market with the Ledger Recover product, you will see the communication material that we have for this, and then you will be able to judge the quality of Ledger communication. So mistakes are mistakes, and we're not denying it. So I started my CEO letter yesterday and the AMA by sort of apologizing for the mistake in publishing this operating system notes before we could actually explain what the product was. And so taking our customers by surprise is not the style of Ledger, but this is really the thing that happened.
If I understand correctly, Ledger has now delayed the launch of the key recovery service in open source it. Is that a correct assessment of the situation?
Correct.
Okay, so I guess the question there would be, why not open source it from the beginning? If this is something that is kind of a reply to some of the sort of the community uproar, like why was this just not done originally?
There are a lot of the part of the Ledger code that is already open source. There are some parts that are closed, and so far we've always worked with our customers and our community with a certain level of trust. There is, in everything that you do in life, there is a certain level of trust that you need to have. You trust that Bitcoin works because other people have done the work at looking at the code, but you haven't looked at the code yourself. And not everyone is able to look at the Bitcoin code to, see if it works. And so if you trust in Bitcoin, it's not necessarily that you've done the work yourself, but you trust other people to have done the job. And so in the end, trust is something that is sort of enforced over time, because, Bitcoin has been operating since 2008. It is actually the best system to exchange value online peer-to-peer, and you trust in Bitcoin because you trust that it's been up and running for so long without any major bugs. And so similar, you have certain level of trust that you need to give to any product that you're going to use in the market, any hardware wallet, Coinbase, anything. And so we took the product to market the same way that we took other products to market before, based on the trust that our customers have for us. The backslash was actually we might not trust you as much on this one. And so, understanding that we need to do a better job at explaining what a hardware wallet is, what it does, but specifically on that product, there is a higher need for transparency. And so, when our customers give us feedback, we take the feedback, we listen, and the need for transparency in this product is much higher than for other products, and this is why we're open sourcing it.
I think that some might say, they trust in Bitcoin because there's no one single point of failure, and Ledger might be a little bit different as it is a centralized company. On that AMA yesterday, people were bringing up KYC concerns, data leak concerns. How can your customers continue to trust you? And I ask this question just on the back of what the industry has experienced over the last, 6 months. There have been, centralized players who have really eroded the trust of the industry. What do you say to these people who are saying, why should we trust Ledger with our data?
So first of all, I didn't draw a parallel between sort of Bitcoin and Ledger. The only thing that I said is, whatever you do in life, you need to have a minimum trust, because nothing is absolutely trustless in the sense that you can't verify everything yourself. You can't build everything yourself. So you trust that other people have done the job for you. You're right to say that, the Bitcoin protocol and Ledger are not the same because they're not built the same. And even though Ledger is your key to enter your world of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, it is a centralized company. It is a company with a CEO, etc. So very, very different for Bitcoin. I think what we tried to say yesterday is we're gonna try to be as trustless as possible, and we're gonna try when we say two things. A, we're going to open source Recover, but also we're gonna open source the maximum of our roadmap going forward, so people can verify as much as possible. And so the piece that they have to trust has to be minimized. Now, I think to be absolutely trustless in the world of consumer electronic is impossible. So there is a minimum trust that you need to have in a company like Ledger. But also we said other things yesterday, in a sense that if you understand the way that a company like Ledger works, you understand that the people that are working on the firmware, so what you put in the device, are actually of course, working in my team, but not reporting directly to me. So in a security company, you have a segregation of duties between the CEO, who is the administrator and executes, but you have some security teams at Ledger that don't have to take orders from me. So I cannot actually force anyone, the team that is working on the firmware, me as CEO, I cannot force them to execute anything. So there are, countermeasures inside a security company, so a CEO cannot go rogue and do whatever he wants. And so therefore, for a company to go rogue, you would have to have all of its employees to become malicious employees to actually do something wrong in the firmware. So, this scenario starts to be extremely, extremely unlikely. There is always a minimum of trust that you need to have in any hardware wallet that you're going to use, let alone Ledger, anything else that you're going to use in the market, you need to have a minimum of trust. And we're trying to make the part of the operating system as the one that you have to trust as small as possible and open everything else.
Pascal, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time. That was Pascal Gauthier, CEO and Chairman of Ledger.